The conversation at this time starts off in Nigeria, where the spokesperson of the House of Representatives, Akintunde Rotimi, of the All Progressive Congress, Ekiti State, broke down in tears over the spate of criminal attacks which has led to the death of some members of his constituency in Ekiti State. Now, Rep. Rotimi actually could not hold back his emotions on Tuesday, that's January 30th, 2024, while moving a motion of urgent importance on the need for security agencies to urgently stem the tide of criminality ravaging the state. Now, this follows the call by the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of Nigeria, worried about the spate of insecurity under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's government, asking him to resign if he cannot address it. I mean, you would say these, of course, are trying times concerning security in Nigeria. But to make sense of this, I'm joined on the program today by Bala Abdullahi, security expert. Thank you so much for your time, Bala.
Yeah, most welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I mean, really tragic event again in Nigeria, this time around Ekiti State. One would say one too many. I mean, before we get to the reaction of the Honorable, I would want your take as regards this very unfortunate event in Ekiti State. There's the kidnap of those school children and also the monarchs who unfortunately, witnessed the Waterloo. So, I mean, what do you make of this vis-a-vis the fight against this insurgents by the government?
Well, actually, it's very unfortunate to the Nigerian populace, and actually, we foresaw this coming, and we saw it coming, and we've been saying it via a lot of media outlets and other.
I'm sorry, you said you foresaw it coming.
Yes, we.
Can you place this within a context, please?
Yes, what we are saying is that with the speed, the security architecture is moving. With the speed, the security forces are moving. With the economic situation and economic hardship that the country is facing and going into, some of these issues of security problems may likely to crop up in any nation, not only in Nigeria, as the case may be. But the issue is that are the security agencies being given what it takes for them to operationalize their work? Do they have the manpower to man the activities of the Nigerian populace, Nigerian boundary? Who is eligible? I mean, is for him to do the issue of what we call IS, internal security. You see, naturally, the issue of internal security is not lies on the duties on the army posts, rather armed forces, rather lies on the police. It is the responsibility of the police service, police force, now to see to it if they have been given what it takes for them to cushion the tension. Otherwise, you will be injecting money where the money cannot work.
So are you saying are you saying the government's priority in this fight seems misplaced? I mean, from your analysis, you're saying that, or you're infusing that more attention should be paid on the police force as against, pumping money into, the armed forces to fight this insurgents. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. You see, issue of internal security is not the responsibility of the soldiers of the Nigerian armed forces.
But do you think the police force has the capacity to face these people? Because many of these insurgents go around with very sophisticated weapons.
It's just a matter of the federal government to empower them, give them what it takes, including the training, including the facilities, including the surveillance issues, including the retraining to reach the global standard. It's just that they will do it for you. But where it's an internal security, you are bringing soldiers, they cannot fight issue of internal security. It's not their responsibility. It is sole responsibility of the police force.
So I'm sorry, I need you to really break this down. Are you saying that you said it's the soldiers cannot fight internal security? I would like you to please explain what you mean exactly. Is it in terms of the level of training? Is it in terms of the level? Okay. Or you are wrapping it around the context of the law?
let me paraphrase it.
Okay.
You see, soldiers, their main duty is to protect the country against internal aggression. That is their main duty. And so they are trained along that line. But when it comes to the issue of the internal security, you are bringing somebody that was trained to protect the country against external aggression. We are talking about the internal security here, while the police forces were also trained to cushion the tension, public tension within, not outside. Where you misplaced police, where you take police to fight the external forces, that is another problem. Where you take the soldiers to fight the internal crisis, that is where you have problem. But the police should be empowered, should be retrained, should be standardized, such that they can be able to fight to fight this insurgency to reach the global standard. Otherwise, we have a lot of issues. For example, now, are the soldiers that are used to barracks outside the town, are they the one coming in to do the needful concerning the public tension, public arrest, and what have you? Let me tell you what the soldiers should be able to do. Where the forces are much more than the police capacity. If in the case of Nigeria, where we don't even empower the police, it is a matter of joint force. And this joint force, it has also its own implication. But for you to not to do that, it's better for you to concentrate all your energy, all your effort on the police force, to train them, give them what it takes, look at the possibility around surveillance system, look at the possibility around intelligence gathering, look at the possibility around police, public relations, look at the issue around their welfare, look at the issue around their number in terms of the number, recruitment and deployment, look at the issue around financing, look at the issue around all this made up to be what the police are needed in Nigeria. If you are giving them this, they will be able to question such tension. But
I'm sorry, Bala, to some extent, I might just disagree because to a very large extent, we know that many a times this bandits and, of course, insurgents have highly sophisticated weapons, very, very sophisticated intel, and they are well coordinated too. And sometimes you would also want to say they are so organized, one can infer them to even be an army of their own, right? So in terms of the level of their training and all, you'd want to say to some extent they match way above the normal police officer. But I would like us to get into specifics with what we have seen, over the weekend in Ekiti State. Let's listen a bit, because this isn't the first time that we are seeing an honorable cry or lament, on the floor of the House, right, over the spate of insecurity in the country. We'll listen to that of Honorable Rotimi, and then we'll go back to 2 years to listen to that of Honorable Akinyemi Smart, who also did the same thing, on the floor of the House. Take a listen, and then we'll come back to react.
Whatever is our position, we have a chapter. We cannot keep quiet any longer. It has gotten to a point that we cannot sleep with our 2 eyes closed. We are not free. Our children are not free. The president must rise to the occasion. There's no nation that is so powerful that doesn't need support of other nations. Individual cannot say you will leave the war without any other person with you. So we must rise. The situation is our security system has collapsed. It has failed. And because it has failed, we need to look for foreign support. It costs Nigeria nothing. Forget the ego, forget the superiority of Nigeria in African nation. Today, we are facing serious problems. If our nation is to survive this period, I'm not in doubt that the security architecture we have today cannot cope with what we are facing. Every part of this country is threatened. From the north to the south, nobody is safe. Nobody can travel 50 kilometers in our nation. I feel like shedding tears for a country that we grew up, where nobody harasses you when you travel from Lagos to Maiduguri. I've done it in times past. Today, I cannot travel from here to Kaduna to Niger State, where I was born. The president must know that this is a bad time for our nation. We must look for foreign support to save this nation. This is my position, Mr. President. We must rise to it. They are killing people in the east, in the west, in the south, in the north. We should shut down the National Assembly. Let's shut down. If we cannot save this country, we stay in our homes. Our country is bleeding. People are in poverty. There's no food. People are hungry. Insecurity is threatening us. We cannot pretend. It's better we're not here. Than to not sit down here. People are dying. Every day Nigerians are dying. We must learn to education. And so me, Mr. President.
In the entire country. Further notes that on Monday, January 29, 2024, these criminals carried out a dastardly attack in the Okeako area. In Ikole local government area, resulting in the death of 2 traditional rulers, the Onimojo of Imojo Ekiti, Oba Dr. Olatunji Samuel Olushola, and the Eleso of Esu Ekiti, Oba David Babatunde Ogushaki, and leaving a host of others with life injuries. Shocked that this is not an isolated event, as in the past few days alone, a commercial driver was between Ayedo and Ayebode by armed bandits. And just yesterday, a school bus load of students were abducted in Emure, Ekiti, and their whereabouts is still unknown till now.
Those are 2 different scenarios on the same issue. The first was Honorable Adeyemi Smart about 2 years ago, crying on the floor of the House and, of course, challenging his fellow lawmakers that something needs to be done concerning the security architecture of Nigeria. Now, fast forward, we have another honorable by the name of Akintunde Rotimi, who is also doing the same. This time around, this was really recent in Ekiti State. Just over the weekend, the same issue of security. I still have with me on the program Bala, who is a security expert, and of course, joining him right now is Dr. Christian Ani, another security expert, to make sense of this. I would like to, of course, start off with you, Christian. You listened to both videos, right? The same issue, almost the same trend, talking about how it appears like the insecurity in Nigeria seems to overwhelm the government and they don't seem to know what to do. I'd like to know your take.
Thank you very much for having me in the program. You're very right. I think one of the critical things is that the government seems to be at a stage where it doesn't know how to progress with the issues of insecurity. But that is not really the case, about commitment, to addressing the issue, facing the real governance issues beyond the pocket-related issues or beyond every other, things that are taking off the minds of political figures. Within that, the lawmakers will still speak within the Senate, express their frustrations within the Senate houses and within the parliamentary houses. But then when it comes to what are you doing to improve the livelihoods of ordinary people, some of the basic things that lead to some of these issues, they're not doing that. How are you holding governance accountable? They're not really doing that. How are you ensuring that the police and the NSAS kind of engagements that have gone through have been addressed in some ways, to get the police to be active, that they are also better paid? What are you doing about minimum wage? Currently, we have Naira to $1 going to about 1,500. But then we are still debating about minimum wage. People are still living with the currencies, with the same salaries that they got since, let's say, in 2005. So when you have that system ongoing, I don't think what the Senate or whatever the government is doing is reasonable enough without addressing some of.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ani, to cut in here. I mean, just to get your own opinion, Bala was also a fellow discussant, said that the government's priority should be focused more on the police as against financing the army. That it's the duty of the police to actually fight internal security and not the jurisdiction of the army. Do you think that the government's focus in terms of placing the security architecture responsibility, to ensure that Nigerians are safe and sound is misplaced?
Yeah, as in the main thing is that the police generally are the ones that are supposed to ensure security. The army has no place in internal matters.
But don't you also think that with the situation on ground is beyond what you think an average police officer can handle?
Yes, as in you're very right. I'm getting to that. When such emergencies happen, because things have gotten out of hand, then you then enlist the army to then intervene and then have a rapid response mechanism. But this is an anomaly, as in this shouldn't be happening. It's just that the psyche and the clamor is then we should get this the military on board. But this should not be the status quo. So one of the short-term intervention that could happen is getting the military to go to some of those sites. There are various accounts of different sites where these kidnappers and also bandits operate. And this should be where the soldiers and the like should concentrate their effort in, while the police service still work within suburbs and also in urban areas and urban cities, directly engaging communities in that regard, while the soldiers are not like within the cities themselves, but then are now actively looking for the bandits and then engaging with them. It's not just bandits. There are a lot of also, people who have taken advantage, who have realized the economy of kidnapping. Because it's an economy on its own. It's like a startup that people do to raise funds for themselves, to thinking that they could do something better, but then they see that it's more lucrative to kidnap someone and then you get several millions out of the blue. So one thing that has to happen is that division of labor. Not that you say, okay, no, it's just the security, it's just the police, or it's just the military. No, you have the police and the military working hand in hand to address this. And one critical component, just before I leave the floor back to you, is the aspect of community policing. It's because of lack of mistrust that we have on our police, and lack of accessibility or limited accessibility. Let me not say lack, because in some places there are good stories, but you need the communities. Just recently, I live here in Abuja. The communities around had to gather, have a meeting, have a discussion around how to address the crisis. If the police is also engaging such communities and getting data of them and saying, okay, who is coming in, who is not, what looks mischievous within your communities. Those kind of things are one way of also ensuring that civilians and communities are part of the solutions, rather than being left out to an issue of let's get the military, let's get the police, because at the end of the day, they don't know what is happening unless when being told some of those things.
All right, let me go back to you, Bala, on this particular issue. Now, just from Christmas, or December last year to February, we're looking at February, just around the corner, we've had cases in Plateau State, in Abuja, right now in Ekiti State, and there are also concerns in Lagos State, right? Now, some have said that the security forces are more reactive than proactive. I would like your take on this, given into account the, I call it kinetic and non-kinetic approach experts have suggested.
Well, you see, the bottom line is that we are not serious as a government. Serious in the sense that if you want to do it, you have to do it as perfectly as expected. The bottom line of the whole argument is that you have individuals, you have communities, you have external communities or international communities by the side. And each one of this category has an interest over what is happening here. like what my colleague have just said, the economy of this crisis. So the bottom line is that the more the government is serious and committed, the more you see results. And for example, let me go back a bit from what I said earlier, that for over 20 years, soldiers have been engaged in the Northeast. No results. For over 7 years, soldiers have been engaged in North Central, South, East, and Northwest. No results.
Would you say there's,
So
sorry, I'm sorry to cut in there, but what would you say in the case of Maiduguri if you say no results?
There is no result. Up to today, there is attacks in Maiduguri. Up to tomorrow. There are some areas where you cannot go. So this is what we are saying. A common man on the street, we want to see that a relatively a society that is free from any tension. You go in at will, you come in at will. That is what the common man is expecting. Because that is one of the duties of the government once it comes to power, to protect lives and property. Once there is an issue regarding that, definitely there is a problem. So going back to the Jos crisis, Plateau crisis, is historical and political crisis that is happening in Jos. Nothing more, no more, no less. I was born and brought up in Lantan, and I know when I was young, I cannot even distinguish a member from my religion and a member from from the other religion. I cannot do that because we were all doing it together. When it is Sunday, we all go to churches together. When it is Friday, we all went to mosques together. When it is Xmas, we were all doing it. When it is Salah, we were all doing it. That was the society then. That was the discipline. That was the humanity then. But just of recent, politics have just infiltrated into the social cohesion in Plateau. People are saying settler, people are saying indigenous. For what? In Nigeria. So these are some of the issues that earlier the government understands. And different commission of inquiry have been set up, but no punishment in Jos. No punishment up to tomorrow. And those commissions submitted their results. Let's dust those results, administer the punishment to whosoever it deserves.
Why do you think there has not been punishments, justice, particularly for those who have been found wanting? Why do you think that is?
Because of the interest the political class has on it.
So are you saying these issues are more political than, maybe economic?
They are more political, but you see, you can't segregate politics and economy. You cannot segregate politics and religion. So, but the starting point of it is all politics. I told you that I was born and brought up there. I have never seen any kind of that. So it's just that very unfortunate that our politicians use such to question their political ambition. That is just it. But if there is a serious government, and the government is serious and committed about it, those results, those commissions, those reports should be dusted and look into it and administer it, use it, and see what the result will be. Because without giving punishment, without reward and punishment, there won't be any kind of relative society, relatively peaceful society. In Jos, let me tell you, our forest border here have contributed towards sending and transporting arms and ammunition down to North Central. In the Northeast here, in the Northwest here, in Nigeria, we have more than 2,000 forest borders. What do you do with that? Unmanned, no people to man this, and weapons and whatsoever is coming in, drugs, including drugs. So there is cordial relationship between arms traders, drugs peddlers, politics, religion, and what have you. These are some of the issues that it's not that the government doesn't know the results. It's not that the government doesn't know anything about it, but there are some cliques that you cannot penetrate them. You dare not to penetrate them. We call them the complete entrepreneurs. This category of group benefit from the conflict. So the more conflict stops, the more they die. So they don't want to die. So they have to keep the trend and the business working, moving for them to survive. Otherwise, there is going to be a rancor. in the higher market.
Okay,
This is what we are saying.
Okay, I mean, you've made some points. I mean, you talked about conflict in entrepreneurs, and the angle you're looking at it from is you're giving an opinion that seems like as if they're above the law. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, you cannot punish them. Let me tell you, we have the conflict entrepreneurs that are within government, within security agencies, within traditional rulers, within politicians. These are very strongest group. Then we have the international communities.
I mean, I would like, I'm sorry, because I mean, we would appreciate it if you can back this up with facts. You know, if you have concrete evidence to point, you know, to some areas or individuals or even corporations, we would appreciate it.
Let me tell you, so many attacks, arrests have been made by the soldiers, by the police, that these soldiers or these security people were part and parcel, were aiding this criminality. Arrests have been made, and you can testify to that. And there are some traditional institutions, traditional rulers that were also dethroned from their kingship, because they were in one time or the other aiding criminality in Zamfara, for example, in Katsina, for example, and some other places. It's not something that you say fact or no fact. These are facts, and you know better than I do, because these are facts that were aired. It was all over.
Let me go to
the issue of saying, no, the issue of addressing it is that seriousness, commitment and seriousness of the government, that whosoever deserves to be punished should be punished.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, because what you are saying right now is that on the part of many of the boys, soldiers, that's the armed forces on ground, I'm sorry to cut in.
Sorry.
Okay, please land.
The laxity of our judicial system to punish these people is also aiding this corruption, aiding this criminality. You find a bandit confessing via video, via whatsoever, but when he gets to the law, you see him given a bail, and sometimes he jump bails. They jump bail. How could you tell me that there was no security knowledge in Kuje prison break when 2 weeks to the event, SSS have signaled the government that something is going to happen, something is happening? How could you tell me that the government is not in the knowing when the DSS, before the train attack, are highlighted that there is going to be post attacks? Nothing happens.
So are you saying the security forces are doing their job, but there is no political will to administer justice? Is that what you're saying?
To some level, there is none. There is none. They are doing, and among them also, other people are also aiding this criminality among the security forces.
All right, let's go.
Where do they get these weapons?
Bala, I just want to leave you briefly. I want to go to Dr. Annie right now. I mean, I would like to know your reaction to some of the things Bala has said. He has indicted the judicial system, saying that we've seen cases, videos where some of these perpetrators who were caught confessed to their crimes, and we never see anything at the end of the day. We've also seen cases where some people are forgiven for the crimes they've committed in the past. They call them repentant terrorists, right? And they are reintegrated into society. Some will call it, you know, is it a miscarriage of justice? So I would like to know your reaction on some of the things you have said, particularly pointing to the root cause of these issues of insecurity that Nigeria is facing.
So maybe just to start with, to look through again the out of security. I work with the Institute for Security Studies for some time now, and you know we look through insecurity dynamics across West Africa, and when you look at what is happening and what has to happen in security when you're trying to combat insecurity, for instance, in the Northeast. You know, my colleague there mentioned that, you know, that there is no respite in Borno. It's just that it has died down to becoming, you know, a case that is no longer as newsworthy as it used to be before. Not to take out from the fact that there's significant effort made by the security to address some of the, overt challenges that were being faced at the time. But what happened is that the criminal group are adaptable. They adapt to situations, and what has been happening is a dispersion. And some of them have even moved from some of the bases that they used to have, whether it's in Borno or Kogi, whether it's in Borno or Yobe or wherever they were. And some of them have also moved down, as in, we talk of, some cells of the group operating within Kogi environs, even within the surrounds of Abuja. That's why they were able to carry out the Kuje prison attack and the like. So you begin to see that, when you're taking the forward action to a non-insecurity group that you are attacking, what are you doing about the defenses, and also making sure that they do not take advantage of other weaklings that are available there. And then speaking about the judiciary, as in, I don't have a comment about that, because it has also a lot to do about what evidence is brought to those to the judiciary for them to kind of make a reason, because they're not guilty until proven guilty, and the police have to do that, or the military has to do that. So if there's not enough evidence, or if there's if there's some kind of a show that some materials have been mismanaged and mishandled, it counts against the people, the accusers, the prosecutors. So just to think it from that perspective, not really to indict or to say to equate the judicial sector of the wrongdoing. And then getting back to the repentant, what they call the repentant terrorists or repentant bandits, that is the amnesty and the reintegration program. It is a very good practice. For me, I don't see much that is wrong. It's supposed to be, you show the people who are carrying out bad acts that, you can reaccept them back into community.
But don't you think that will rob some people of justice? Some that, have suffered in the hands of these people and will put their trust and hope in the government that, the perpetrators of this act would face the wrath of the law. And then they see them on screen being given a tap on the back and told, go and sin no more. Don't you think that builds hate?
Yeah, no, as in, to everybody, it's not logical. As in, the direct instinct of human nature is the punitive approach to justice. Let's do the punitive approach, an eye for an eye. But then when you do think through the what is there, and then also how do you end a scourge of terrorism? How do you drastically reduce? How do you reduce the incentives for them to remain there? For instance, in the Northeast, some of our research showed that some remain there because they felt that if they are to come back to societies, or if they are to come back to say that they have surrendered, they will just be summarily executed, without, seeing the other side to it. But I'm not saying that this should be, a free-for-all kind of repentance strategy. There's the Operation Safe Corridor, which kind of trains and then kind of rehabilitates those people. But, it is something that has to be community-led. And one of the challenges that have been faced by those kind of approaches, that reintegration program, is that there's no kind of real engagement with the communities to ensure that they're part of, forgiveness processes, hearing of what those bandits and what those criminal elements have to say about, what they did, so that they also get healing from that. And in terms of, even when you think of whether it's in South Africa, there's a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where people just came to confess what they did in the past, to the local population as part of a way of giving them amnesty. So no one is not really a good or bad thing. But then at some point, we have to, as a society, think through various approaches to ensure that we are able to get people to leave violence.
All right, Dr. Annie, I'll come back to you. Let me go back to Bala right now. Now, I would like to pick an excerpt of what the former vice president of Nigeria did say, or advise the current administration. He said, if the shoes are too big, talking in person of Atiku Abubakar, he advised that if the shoes are too big, the president or the government, the president in person of the president, can as well step aside. But the presidency has reacted to this. In the words of a statement released by the presidency, he said, if Alhaji Atiku is really concerned about security issues and not playing cheap politics, he should have known that President Tinubu is on top of issues and working hard to restore peace to every part of our country. Of course, the statement goes further. But what I want to pick out is this. We've also had cases where right now we understand that the Senate has summoned the security officials to the floor of the House to come and explain. This isn't the first time we are seeing all of this. There are meetings upon meetings. We've seen strategies upon strategies. We've seen resignations and we've seen sacks, even within the security architecture, and replacements happen. But these issues still persist. I would like to know exactly what you feel is going on and what you think the government isn't doing right.
Well, the whole issue boils down to issue of commitment. Because, for example, now, as chief CNC, if nothing is going well, you need to give yourself timeline, within which if you cannot address it, you step aside. As chief of army staff, if things are not going right, you need to give yourself.
But we've seen cases where people step aside, but this issue still persists. We've seen in the past where security chiefs have been replaced, but it looks like it's a roving circle, vicious one that keeps persisting. So, I mean, don't you think there's more to this?
It's not a matter of resigning or replacement. It's a matter of investigating what is given to them without auditing. Defense, in the last administration, they spent every 1 billion naira every day for security, every day, last administration. Every day, 1 billion naira, and no result. So what we are saying, if you are given 10 naira for somebody to do the job, and he cannot do that, or he did it, go back and investigate how the money is being, how the money given is being spent, for you to be accountable to the general public. But today, I tell you, news have been that most of the former chief of COAS were alleged to have stolen billions of naira. So these are some of the issues. Where do they get the money? If you ask soldiers who are in the field, which I did, I asked some of them, they were confessing that they were never given their allowances, no salary as at Wendu. How do you get that? And this is a situation whereby if you place an individual soldier by the road or in one village, that soldier will spend 1 year, 2 years, 3 years doing one thing without even deployment. Do you know what does that mean? It means that this soldier becomes part and parcel of the community he was serving or of the community he was deployed to. And by implication, when you are part and parcel of the criminality of the society that is said to have been a bit of criminal activities there, the tendency for you to be criminal is almost 70 to 90%. And this is what is happening in Nigeria. And for the rank and files, believe me, they are prostrated. In the whole of Nigeria security uniform men, they are less than 360,000. 360,000 to man the affairs of over 200 million people. How could that be possible?
All right, Bala.
How could that be possible? These are some of the issues. The budget, a defense budget is always
But
the
I'm
biggest
sorry, I'll
budget.
need to cut in here. I sincerely apologize, but this, of course, is what time can permit on the program. Thank you so much for your time, gentlemen. Bala, security expert. Of course, we deeply appreciate you, and also Dr. Christian Ani, another security expert, also who joined on the program. Gentlemen, once again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
All right, deeply appreciated. Well, that's the much we can take on the program today. Well, I usually not do this on this particular program, but I will say this. If you're a perpetrator of evil, whether it's kidnapping, banditry, what have you, mark my word, your day will come. My name is Dakwa Adeboye. Bye for now.